Hi everybody, my name is Beth Malachi and you are watching Start Me Up. In this video, we are chatting to Thabang Mashigo and we will be talking about how you can build your business development character and how you can become a transfor-preneur. How are you doing today?
Very well, because I'm here.
Good. Tell us, for people who've never heard of you, for people who don't know who you are, who is Thabang? Who is Thabang Mashigo?
Sure. I think background is very important to start, because if you don't honor where you come from, then you don't honor who you are.
Absolutely.
So I am, the better part of me is from Lichtenburg, which is in the northwest. And then we also have some Durban blood there.
Oh, okay.
But I was born and bred in Johannesburg and in Soweto. And I have a background in political science and international relations. Just completed my master's in public policy. But I'm a bubble in a bottle of champagne. I think that's how I describe myself.
Amazing. And then take me through the journey of your career. You
Sure.
call yourself a think tank.
Sure.
For those who don't know, what is that?
A think tank is a person who thinks on behalf of, an organization or an individual, but strategically. It's all well and good to have ideas, but if we are not strategic about our implementation strategies and the functioning of those ideas, then they can actually not happen at all, or essentially you could lose a lot of money trying to invest so much time in doing that. So as an entrepreneur, I've got a company called Altitude Connection, and Altitude Connection is a research consultancy and a think tank. So I have clients who would come to me and say, Thabang, I'm looking for this kind of an idea, I've got this kind of an idea, I don't really know how to go about it, and we come up with a business model and a strategy that could help you better implement that idea or business.
Great. And then do you work normally with entry-level companies, or do you work with medium-level companies or established companies? Typically, who are your clients?
Sure. I'd say my target market is quite broad, and I'll tell you why. Yes, it's important to define your target market in business, but if somebody who is a SMME comes knocking on my door, I will never say, no, we deal with corporates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, I think as a person, I love seeing things start from the ground and essentially growing, so it's SMMEs, it's corporate, it's individuals as well. There are individuals who come to me and say, Thabang, I'd love to have just a map around my life. Can you then help me in implementing that? So our target market is very broad, and I've got about quite a few employees. But the most amazing part of being, an entrepreneur in the 21st century, you need to understand one thing. Your CV is your results.
Absolutely.
The CV of the 21st century is the results that you produce. And I am an entrepreneur that is result oriented. So, for example, my PA is a domestic worker. I took her, trained her in terms of administration, and she's booming. I have an advisor who's a taxi driver, and just because of we had a shooting the last time on TV, I think it was Now or Never on SABC1, and I just heard him speak, and I just thought, wow, such wisdom. And these are the pearls that I need to ensure that the business can grow. So that's
Wow.
partially what we are about.
That's amazing. And then let's talk a little about, entry-level entrepreneurs.
Sure.
What challenges do you think a lot of entry-level entrepreneurs are facing that are very common, that when you look at them, you're thinking, look, these are the lines that you should be taking, and this is what you should be dropping along the way. What are some of the challenges that are common when it comes
Sure.
to entry-level entrepreneurship?
Well, I'll give you 3 of the main ones. Firstly, it's resources. And I don't mean resources as in, capital venture, but resources as in the tools that are available to ensure that the business can start. Because, one of the main challenges is the fact that laying of the foundation is very difficult for entry-level entrepreneurs. Because remember, you can't build a structure on a foundation that is not strong or solid enough. So we need a lot of resources and tools to do that. We have learned and we have normalized the idea that money is a need. Money is actually a requirement to the need. The need is the resources. And some of these resources could be skills development. Some of these resources could be, you just need an office space and you need your rent to be covered. Sometimes you just need lighting to ensure that, the show happens. So these are the basic tools and the resources that we need. Secondly, it's work ethic. I have an issue of discussions that go about, we need to support black businesses. Can we look at the business besides it being black?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when we, box it based on a background of disadvantage and etc., look, those are realities and historical trajectories that we can't escape. But my issue today is that we have a lot of black businesses that don't have work ethic and understand what professionality and professionalism is all about. For example, taking 2 weeks to answer an email, not returning a call, your turnaround time, not respecting time management. Those are basic things that accumulate to work ethic. Instead of starting 8 o'clock, you start 10 o'clock. That's close to half of your day gone. So we need to inculcate a culture of working, appropriately and according to a certain time. For example, in Germany, I'd know with lectures, if you are 5 minutes late, the door is locked. The bus will arrive at this certain time, and if it's gone, it's gone, and they have inculcated a culture of respecting time and actually personal management. So we need a lot of entrepreneurs who will understand work ethics and personal management. And I'd say the last thing that could be a biggest challenge for SMMEs is also exposure. The rich are rich and the poor are poor, and then when you are in the middle, you don't really know, are you in between the clap? And that becomes a very difficult thing. So we need to be exposed to people that we can access as SMMEs. If Motsepe has built an empire, we need to know how he did it and how we can apply it in our own spaces as well. So for me, association and the networking is very important when it comes to the private and the public sector, where SMMEs are really stuck because they really don't know. It doesn't help just doing workshops. What are the referendums that are in place to ensure that these things are done? What are the follow-up measures and evaluation tools that are used to ensure that they actually start and they move ahead?
I like that you spoke a little bit about association. Here I am, the girl from the township. I want to get to you. How do I get to you? How do I get to people like you who are in the higher places who might be very difficult for me to reach? I might be wanting people like you as my mentors or as my coaches, and then when it comes to coaching, a lot of people would charge a lot of money for coaching, especially when it comes to business coaching. How do we make sure that we fill the gap between me as an entry-level entrepreneur and that person who is up there who could actually help me build myself or build my business the best possible way it should be?
Sure, that's a very critical question. When I started in this journey, I think predominantly, as I said, that I'm a thinker, I speak and I develop content. One thing that I said is I will always be accessible to people, whether it's through social media. I've got people who can call me and say, we saw you on TV, because that's how I approach business. I'm always on the ground, because the best learning takes place when you're on the ground. Absolutely. It's not at the top. It's
and that's
like
where the inspiration comes from as well. Because it reminds you of your humble beginnings. You know? Yeah. And then there's people who, like you were saying, somebody would send you a message and say, I saw you on TV. I want you to mentor me. What do you think makes a better mentee? Because a lot of people just want to get closer to you, but then they're not willing to, to learn from you the best way you can actually teach them.
That's it.
How do you make sure that you are coachable as a person sitting at home, wanting to get close to Thabang, but then you don't want to waste her time?
Sure. That's a very critical question as well, because we have mentees who, you're right, they don't really have the vision or the intention of why they want to be mentored. And one of my biggest challenges with those kind of relationships is that mentees think as a mentor it's your responsibility to chase after them. For me, if you want to be mentored, you're going to chase me. You will find me because you are the one that wants me. So I get people who would say, no, but as my mentor, the first thing I ask you is, what are your expectations? And what do you want to achieve out of a relationship? It's like dating. You don't, dating is derived from the word data collection. You collect information about the person. So you can't. There has to be an expectation of some sort. And that's why I don't really believe in mentorship, but rather coaching. Because coaching is at a different level. You don't depend on me for the answers. Instead, I guide you to derive the answers from you. So I just help you see the tank that is in you, where the answers are seated,
Wow.
And that for me, I'm more of a coach more than anything. And with some of my clients, I go beyond the call of duty as well. It's not just our one-on-one sessions, but they know they have the liberty to call me at a godly hour and discuss, So with them, social media, I make sure that I'm accessible. There are some people who would want to sit and have a meeting and have coffee with you. And there are time wasters as well. So I charge for my time as well,
Yes.
If you really want it and you don't have the means to, you save up until you see me. Because I know the results that I produce as a person as well. Yeah.
Then let's talk a little bit about your speaking.
Sure.
We know you do a lot of speaking, public speaking. How did you get into that?
Wow, that's a very interesting story. From the age of 6, I was coached as a speaker by my father. And by 6 years old, I was reading your T.D. Jakes. I was reading crazy books. And I then, started with a lot of the small events, whether it was church engagements, etc., etc. I then started competing internationally. I was rated one of the top speakers in South Africa by Parliament in the city of Western Cape.
That's interesting.
And quite a prestigious award for me. And I think that stamped my career in speaking as well. From there, I moved on to Germany, in Berlin, competed there, coached them on speaking as well in Paris, Malaysia. I now sit as an ambassador for the One Young World Summit, where I spoke. It was last year, November. We covered topics around, socio-economic policies, etc., etc. So for me, more than anything, it fulfills me because I produce content every single day, Nice. It's become, those who are Christians and spiritual would believe that your gift has to profit you. And I don't mean the profit as in just the money making, it's a component, but the profit as in it has to fulfill you.
From the personal development point of view as well.
That's it. So I've grown exceedingly with it, and it's been quite a journey, I must say. Yeah.
And then what are some of the disciplines that comes with being a speaker? Some people just think because they are opinionated that they can become great speakers.
That's it.
Or just because, they've got the confidence, they're not shy, they can become great speakers. What makes a good speaker according to you?
There's a difference between,
From the global perspective as well. You've traveled around the world, speaking all over the world, and you already know the ins and outs of becoming like a perfect speaker.
Sure. I wouldn't say perfect. I'm on a journey myself. So we're getting there.
Yeah.
I think people need to understand there's a difference between speaking and talking. You can talk, by virtue of the fact that you're a human being with a mouth.
Yes.
And you have an opinion. But speaking is a gift and an art in itself. There are people who go to Toastmasters to teach you, how you stand, how you project yourself, how do you change your tone as well in speaking. But for me, what makes a great and phenomenal speaker is your content. And you can't steal content, hey? That's why I'm not a motivational speaker. Motivation comes from the word motion, and in science it means increasing speed, not changing direction. So essentially, when you're being motivated, I'm encouraging you, whether you're in a space of prosperity or mediocrity, I'm encouraging you to increase the pace. But if I'm saying transform, trans meaning change, formation is shape, change of shape. So when I'm encouraging you to transform, it's saying you might look like a wire today, but you have the ability to become a car. You might look like a wire today, but you have ability to become a hanger. So for me, I respect transformational speakers who develop content on the basis of the fact that it's going to conjure a mental shift, and it's going to ensure that the person then implements it to change their own lives. I can't come and fix you. You are unfixable.
Yes.
You were born with a toolbox. You just need to learn how to use what you have the tools for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. And then now let's talk a little bit about, your journey.
Sure.
You gave me those. Okay, what are you gonna say now?
No.
Okay. What are some of the things that you have learned throughout your journey that you could plant out to people out there who look up to you, who probably want to be where you are today?
Sure. My one thing is stop waiting for opportunities and stop looking for a template that you think is going to help you better lead your life. Create opportunities for yourself. Not every opportunity is also right for you as a person. You got to come to a point where you understand yourself well enough so that you know, one, who are the people you need to associate yourself with. Two, what are the platforms that are most suitable for you? For me, if I might be honest with you, when I stopped looking for things and people to affirm me, that's when the right doors for me opened up. Thinking that, okay, no, I'm not a celebrity, etc., etc. And when I stopped thinking that media could affirm me, that's when I got, doors like United Nations coming to say, no, we've got a conference, can you come through and speak? I got doors from your Paris Ivy came through. Now we'll be speaking at the International and Marketing Summit by the Success Resources. So those are the things for me that I've learned in life. It hasn't been easy. And you have to be so patient with yourself. And I think when you're patient with yourself, you'll understand why certain doors didn't open at the time that they did or should have, and why they open when you least expect it, So walk your own journey, put on your own shoe size, so that Shisela when I went, because we constantly looking outside of us as if we are not enough.
Yes.
So I've learned that I'm enough. I'm enough, and I am good in my own realm. There are so many speakers in this world, but I've come to realize that when I walk on stage, or when he walks on stage, nobody can speak like him. Nobody can speak like me, because I am me. We can say the same thing, but it'll reach the audience differently.
Absolutely.
Why? Because we are different people.
Yes. And then how do you create that brand that attracts such big, you mentioned that, you've spoken, alongside a lot of great speakers in the whole world. How do you create a brand that attracts the right people that are, that you need to work with?
Sure.
Because now you've mentioned you've spoken for, is it One World?
One World Summit.
One World Summit, Success Resources and all that. Not everybody gets there. How did you create a brand so strong that they actually came to you and say, hey Thabang, we want to work with you?
Sure. Uniqueness. Being the best is great because you're number one, but being unique is greater because you're the only one. When you then create a niche where only you as your own flower can bloom where you are planted, then the world, comes after you. For me, I focused so much on what I love and how can I be the best at it. And when you are the best at it, you must understand that the world only wants the best. So they are attracted to the best. But it's not about being the best, but it's about feeding what you love. So I learned to feed what I loved and not to be apologetic about it. So, and that's how I was privileged enough to get such doors to say, I'm not like any other person. This is how I do it. It's either you take it or leave it. I have crazy energy on stage. You think like this person is crazy. But in that craziness, there is just so much wealth and so much knowledge that people take from it. I remember, if there's one talk that changed my life and where I said I will be accountable and responsible, meaning the ability to respond to my gift, is when one lady, I was at Regenesis, the business school, and it was, women in the business clinic, and I was done speaking, and a 55-year-old came to me, and this was about 5 years ago or so, and she said, you know what, Thabang, after your talk, I decided to call my boss. I've officially resigned. And I'm thinking, this lady mustn't resign on my account, and then she's gonna call me saying, so I don't have a salary because of you.
I don't have rent money.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she said one key thing, and she said, your words and the power that came from your mouth gave me the bravery and authority to call my boss, resign, and to fulfill my dreams. And her dream was to start her own business, and she had this idea for 10 years, and she just didn't have, the strength to do it. And today, 5 years later, she calls me and she's making close to 500,000 turnover alone per month.
Wow.
And those are the things that keep me going.
Yes.
To say, I didn't just hear you, but your words helped me change my own life. And that's what I live for, seeing results.
Nice. And then out of everything that you have achieved, what do you still value? What do you value most?
Wow. As a person.
In general,
I value, okay, my biggest, I don't want to say thing, but spectrum that I've been called for is people development. I currently run a program called the Character Bootcamp. So it's the Character Bootcamp for the soul, obviously the self. It's Character Bootcamp for couples, and it's Character Bootcamp for business and corporate. And for me, there's nothing as amazing as somebody presenting a problem and helping them find the solution within
themselves.
I value that so much. And I say, it's not because of me. I was just used as a tool to help dig out the water out of you, But I value spaces where there is harmony, where there is love, where there is progress. That keeps me going. I invest so much in that. And that's why with my clients, I would always say, I go beyond the session, I make sure even if you attempted to act out of character, I would say to you, give me a call and let's go back to the basics. So I value the basics. And today in this world, we act as though, things like kindness, things like value. We see how we cheat each other in business.
Yeah.
It's so bad. We forget basic virtues and values, and ethics. Your first richest African man was Mansa Musa, and he built an empire based on values, based on giving, forgetting to give and remembering what you receive as well. And so for me, I think that's my biggest thing, is transformation of the mind. And it's based on my 5 pillars as well, which is healing, justice, producing reputable content. It is also integrity and dignity as well. And dignity is restoring the dignity of man, restoring the dignity of businesses as well.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then just to wrap up, I think it's very fitting for us to ask you what wealth means to you. How do you define your wealth?
Sure. Wealth for me is wealth of the self. If you start by honoring yourself, and you start by self-love and appreciation, then it's very easy for you to attract wealth from all spectrums, even financially, emotionally, spiritually, and otherwise. But wealth for me, it's two: having the ability to control time and freedom. And your ability to control time and freedom, it starts with consciousness, with Steve Biko, he'd say, I'd rather die for ideas that will live than live for ideas that will die. And that for me is true wealth. When you know that your purpose in the world is more than your breath, but you're here to contribute so much so that the ecosystem of the globe can balance. That for me is true wealth that can translate into financial and investment as well prospects. It starts with the self.
Wow, quite fascinating. And then lastly, somebody might look at you and think it's easy, How do you advise that person sitting at home? They've got that dream that they want to pursue, but they don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. They don't even know if the world can receive whatever it is that they want to bring out to life. What advice do you have for that person?
Never trade the better and best parts of you at a discount. So you might, it's better to lead a life from inspiration than desperation. And what I would say to them is, your daily assignment contribute to your main goal. If you have a main goal, what are you doing today to contribute to the bigger picture? Perhaps you will achieve it in 3 years, in 10 years time, whatever the case might be. But you may find that you work to build a brand for 10 years, but you reap the rewards within 2 years.
Yes.
what is the greatest value for you as an individual?
Yes.
And for me, I would say, if you're sitting at home and you're watching soapies, etc., all well and good, but how is that contributing to your main goal and the main thing that you want to achieve in life?
It's the little steps that we do on a
The small
day-to-day
steps
basis.
have the biggest impact.
Yes.
Start small.
And how do people get hold of you? What are you currently working on? What are your future projects?
Sure. People can get hold of me on Facebook. I'm Thabang Mashigo with an I. They can also get hold of me on Twitter. It's at Thabelina, Thabalina. I'm also on Instagram, Thabang_Mashigo. I'm on YouTube, Thabang Mashigo. We're launching a new YouTube format, and also a new website as well. I can be found on www.thabangmashigo.com, and you're welcome to email me, thabang@thabangmashigo.com. So there's a lot of Thabang Mashigos going on there.
Yes.
It's not difficult to not find me. Currently, the biggest project that we are working on is the boot camps. The boot camps are super amazing. I'm doing a lot of boot camps for corporates, for individuals as well. So that's a big venture capital that we'll be doing. We're going back to communities, especially those who are challenged with your drugs and alcohol, etc., young people. We are developing youth entrepreneurship programs that could help, young people to then say, let me not just focus on developing a career that will give me a job. Let me focus on developing a career that can generate income for me, but also create employment for others as well. So there's always the in-entrepreneur and the entrepreneur. So we currently doing that. I'm doing a lot of prison work. We've got a tour called the South African National Juvenile Tour. We're doing a lot of personal development within the juvenile prisons. It's also focused on young people, and this is inspired by the rehabilitation system in Denmark, that they don't have second-time offenders in the world, and that is amazing. And the only thing they do, your prison in Denmark is a flat, and you're working as a waiter or waitress at Mac and Bean. So they then help ignite the value in you so that you can then create better prospects in the world.
Yes.
And so we aim to do that, and we'll be partnering with the Defense Force so as to train them with, character development, but it also has to be accompanied with physical traits so that you can see practical solutions in your own life. And soon, hopefully, we'll be going into wine farming. So,
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and I really appreciate your time. I wish you all the best. Here at Start Me Up, we always chat to amazing people, and would like to know who you'd like to have as one of the people that we could interview. Let us know on the comments below. Remember, we do weekly entrepreneurship videos to help you dream, grind, and achieve. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.